a very good afternoon to you. I'm Bill Graff. Welcome to China Uber Alice. I'm joined by my co-host today, Nan Su, the senior reporter for the Epoch Times, and Amy Howe, a cultural revolution and re-education camp survivor. Let's turn to Nan and find out what we're going to talk about today, Nan.
Yes, we're going to have a lot to discuss about now. I just read a very disturbing report provided by the World Health Organization. They just finished their investigation in Wuhan city, and they concluded that the coronavirus was not from the lab. It's likely, that's their word, likely from the animal transmitted to human, but however, they couldn't find which animal that brought the COVID-19 to the human. I mean, it was really disturbing when I read the report. I mean, if you don't know the answer, just say you don't know. Right, but now you're one hand, the World Health Organization tried to deny it was from the lab, which means Chinese regime is responsible. Then on the other hand, they say, well, we're not sure how it was transmitted from the animal to human. That's just entirely irresponsible. And keep in mind, our administration just decided we're going to go back to World Health Organization. We're going to donate tens of millions, maybe even hundreds of millions dollars to the organization. Is it worth it? I mean, this is a question we need to talk about. Is it worth it for us to give them the money from all the American taxpayers? It's my money, it's your money. We need to discuss about that. Of course, before we go to that discussion, we are going to first have our usual segment, the story from Amy Howe. Amy spent more than a decade of time in the re-education camp in China because of the Cultural Revolution under Chairman Mao. So, Amy, what are you going to bring us today?
Well. Now, I know you're angry, but please calm down. Today is Chinese New Year's Eve.
Happy New Year.
In China right now, already 6 o'clock a.m., so already Chinese New Year.
That's the year of ox.
Ox, yeah. Yeah, so maybe that. So what's happened is on Wednesday, Biden and talked to Chairman Xi. And then I received a video from American Embassy in Shanghai, to show how they celebrate Chinese New Year and making a Year of the Ox, the card to the Chinese people to celebrate. So it seems like this divorced couple are in love again. And this year, last year I think Chinese New Year is January 25th, right? So this year is after Chinese New Year, and right after that is Valentine's Day. So, I read the report, a Chinese official reporter talking about the Biden and Chairman Xi's telephone, and the whole thing is like the father to discipline a child, the child for 4 years of being wild or something, like that kind of term. I don't know anything about here. They're reporting about that, probably very briefly. I don't know, Anang and Billy, you hear anything, read anything about this news, about their conversation?
I have not heard anything yet.
I don't think any of American media's actually covered this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So anyway, today I'm going to talk about a story about the brainwash. I did some soul searching and thinking, and I just want to just think about it, how this brainwash thing And how did that happen? In what kind of environment will happen people effectively? And then how we're affected to rest of those people's life. So, I went to 50 years ago, I went to this re-education camp. So we went together. It's about 1,000 people in the same train. And so in the one village, and we have about 35 people together. So after that many years, we still counted each other, and just wanted to update everybody's life. And most of people in the 35 people, most are still living in China, and some are out of the China and the U.S. and Canada, and some are in Australia, New Zealand, and some are even in England and France and Germany. Anyway, so all over the world. And recently we decided that we're gonna, in Chinese New Year, we haven't seen each other for a long time, especially this COVID, we're not able to go back to China or to see those people get together. So we decided to have a Zoom meeting. Because this Zoom software is only few software and Chinese government allowed they to download. Because, the software is controlled by the Chinese government anyway. So we decided to have a Zoom meeting. Before this, and I received a photo, and about 5 people and from my village, and they went to visit one person, and he used to be head of our this group, and his name is Bright. But it's not that bright, actually. The reason is, not because we elected him as a leader, and because his social status, the family background, is leading class at that time in China. Because most of people we went together, this group, and all the enemies, children. So, or intellectual people or business owner, whatever it is. And his father is a cable car driver, so is qualified for the working class, even though it's not a working factory, but they still is a working class. So that's why they designated him as a leader. And then somehow, and they make our group, the village, as a model camp. So the model camp, you have to select a person and to go to Beijing and to see Mao. So he's the one we sent to Beijing and to see Mao. So I'm talking about the brainwash things. At the beginning, and I think we live in the place because the communism, they wanted to control people. So we don't hear anything else but whatever the propaganda is, or the newspaper, or the radio. That time is no TV, the radios, or whatever, or just one voice, everything, just one. And so when we grow up with that, that's the only thing we know. We don't know anything about outside the world. And when we go to the village was very near Burma. And so somehow, we from Shanghai. Shanghai people in the big city, so they still is more informed than the people living in the England. And so we know there's either because our parents or the grandparents or the relationship the overseas, and also Shanghai was talking about since the Opium War becoming open port. And so is all the different countries, and they have this conception there. And so those influence, they never go away. So we know have other countries we have. So it's very close to Burma, so we can hear BBC. So we all have the radio, has short wave, so maybe we can listen to it. So we at least know something about that, but it's dangerous. It's also criminal. And so we not publicly we can listen to it. And but anyway, major thing we receive the information. It's just all propaganda. So whatever they want to brainwash you. But that's the only thing you know. So you keep repeating, even if it's a lie, you will believe it's the truth. Right? So this guy was selected to go to see Mao and to Beijing. So it's very honorable things. And then before he went Beijing to see Mao, and he just an ordinary person. And if brainwash, you say that, the same as the world being brainwashed, almost the same, the levels. And when he come back from Beijing, everything changed. Because he never washed his hand. He put a glove on, he said, because the Mao shake his hand. So people had to, the kids standing in line and wanted to shake his hand because he shook with Mao. Now, I didn't stand there because it was kind of silly, but I not dare to say anything, And then he started acting real. I mean, talking about it's like he thinks that he also is a god, or at least a god sender or something. And so he constantly, he's not working anymore. He thinks he's a leader now. He doesn't have to work. So after we work, we retire, he's constantly looking for the people, and he thinks I should discipline us, whoever didn't do right, so criticizing. So he always have the conversation, and they say, oh, I'll make an appointment with you after work, I want to talk to you, something about it. Also, meanwhile, I think he was chasing a girl, and he was making lots of points with the girl. This later, I think after about 40 years or something, I went back to China. We had a reunion. So I invited him. And then a couple of girls stand up and say, they said, if you invite him, we're not going to come in. I said, why? He said, because before he was sexually harassed them. The saying was talking about, have a conversation with them, and basically try to harass them or something. So I didn't know that, so I didn't invite him. Some boys, they said, how can you invite our leader or something? I said, well, because they said 3 or 4 girls, they refused. They say if I invite him, they're not coming. So that's why we never met him. And the couple of days ago, I saw the picture. I was shocked because he looked like at least 20 years older than us. He's in wheelchair. And he was, I think he got a stroke or something. And they will show, one picture, they show him the book, the photo book they just recently published. And I look at his face, I think he didn't know anything. And maybe get Alzheimer's or something, Just horrible. So what happened is that since he went to see the Mao, being absolutely 100% brainwashed, and he thinks that he's a godsend, so he's not working. And at that time, because he's a Communist Party member, they accepted him, but then make him give him a job in the not counting. I think there's some kind of is a province, some office, and to in charge this education group or something. So you get a good position, and so it's okay. And also he married to a propaganda performing group, a dancer, very beautiful girl, and she's a Thai minority group. And so it seems like he has a wonderful life. Then what happened is after this Mao died, and Mao's wife and General Ford, they're being arrested. So everything changing because the Chairman Deng and started this new changing reforms. And so the bigger government, they had to lay off lots of people. So his department, I think they don't need it. So they closed, and so he lost a job. But at that time, and they have a chance to go back to Shanghai. I already left China, so I'm not really know the details. Anyway, he got back to Shanghai, but he has no job, and with his wife and little girl. And he's not working because that time Chairman Deng was saying is you can do anything. You can start your own business or whatever it is. He said just let some people getting rich first, getting rich fast or whatever it is that time. And but he didn't want to do anything. They end up because he still believed. I think being brainwashed that long, he still believed. He was shake hand with Mao, so he should be recognized and give him a job, and then he gave him some kind of position. So he still dream about that. So end up and has no money and cannot to support his wife and the kid. So the wife left him, and so went to the Shenzhen, which is some special economy zone, and to doing the business or whatever. Eventually, they divorced, so he all by himself, and but he was get really poor at nothing, and so he had started like they had this gambling cracker that fighting. So he think when he was young, he know how to feed the crackers. And they fighting, so he got getting into this gambling things and make some money and to support himself. So basically, since then, he never able to do anything, and until his parents died, and they have some old house, and the government wanted to tear it down and give some compensation because entire Shanghai is rebuilt. So they gave some money, so he had to move away to kind of far away. And then his daughter come back, and the saying is that he never do anything for her, so it's a time for her to get something back. So forced him to sell the house, and then move him far away to the countryside, and then the daughter get married and live in his place. And so just at the beginning, I think because he got a stroke and at the beginning he didn't know what to do, and nobody taking care of him. At the beginning, his daughter still they have this deliver service to deliver some meal to him. Eventually, they sent him far and far away. And so only deliver maybe once a month or something. And so he just always eat the leftover, get sometimes no food, in just horrible situation. So the people, we went to commute together, and they still go there once in a while, like a Chinese New Year or some holidays, Moon Festival or something, they go to see him. Just getting worse and worse, the situation is unbelievable. But he never changing his dream, and he still believe whatever being brainwashed, he think he deserve to have a better life, and because you're shaking hand with the mouth. So, that's the story I want to tell you about that. And after 9/11, I think I keep thinking, because they said this terrorist was being brainwashed. But some they were in the place totally isolated, like I went to the place in China. We don't know anything with the outside. But some people was educated in West. So why they want to be a terrorist? How did they be brainwashed, radicalized? I think mostly I saw one movie which was very real, talking about it. They make you want to be an icon. to a martyr, whatever. So you get this idea, so you become a radicalized. So that's what I just wanted to talk about today.
Wow, how the mighty rise to power and then fall.
Well, that's what happened in the communist nations. You shake hands with they first of all they make Mao the god, right? And then you shake your hand with God, then you are God given some sort of privilege.
It's funny though how propaganda is never goes away. It's propaganda no matter what.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the propaganda strategy of Chinese Communist regime never changed.
And guess what? In the news today, what we're going to talk about is more propaganda.
Then propaganda.
The WHO has come out and said they don't believe that the virus that has hit the entire world now came from a lab in Wuhan. Instead, they think it was brought in on frozen meat or some kind of meat.
Some sort of animal, they say. But they say they are not sure which animal was from. I mean, if you don't know, just say you don't know.
Well, didn't. That's what I think, too.
You're right. You just be honest. But isn't that what we call baseless?
I can hear Amy laughing in the background because
laughing.
because the same Amy, you have the same reaction to this story that I read when I had the reaction yesterday. I read the story. I went, what are they talking? They must be smoking some of that funny tobacco.
Yes.
Well,
I was talking about some kind of animal. So I said, is that human also some kind of animal?
Well, it's worth to notice in the World Health Organization. They actually say it in their report. They say it's unlikely from the bats. Guess why they're saying that?
Well, because it's biologically it's almost impossible to transfer it, right?
Well, it's because keep in mind the lab, Wuhan Institute of Virology, actually published an academic paper in December of 2015. In the paper, they say they discover the COVID-19 virus from the bats. So they are the one doing
the research.
They are the one keeping all the bats. And if it was from the bats, then it's likely from the lab. But so the World Health Organization, specifically mentioned in their report, say, it's not likely from the bats, although they believe there were reservoirs of a virus that was carried by the bats, but in Wuhan, that's not the case. See, they are buying, I think they are buying the whole version of the story from Chinese Communist regime.
That's right. Now, talking about the bats, I think last year I read about the story. They say there's China, they have a place, there's a bigger cave. They call it a bat cave.
Yes.
So they were talking about the bat never have that kind of virus. The bat never produced that kind of virus. What are they talking about?
That's what I was getting at, Amy. Yeah. The fact that this bat, it's very hard biologically for this bat to get this virus in the first place, apparently. I'm not a biologist, but from what I've read, what Amy just said is absolutely correct.
Yeah, they say the bats have been carrying this. Bats have been carrying this virus for thousands of years. It's very seldom for the virus to be transferred from the bats to human. I mean, for thousands of years, it never happened. All of a sudden it happened. It just, caused a pandemic all around the world, and it started from the Wuhan, and the Wuhan has the lab, and the lab published an academic paper says they found the bats carry the coronavirus, and also in the same academic paper they published, they say, the paper suggested that the Wuhan lab was going to conduct a test by putting the coronavirus on non-human primates. So you have all these things, you think that's not smoking gun, but they all line up, and then the World Health Organization went to Wuhan. They did a whole month of study and investigation, and they came out. They said, "Oh, it's not likely from the bats. So, it's probably from animals transmitted to human, but we don't know which animal is."
So. Let's go back to the story that's causing so much controversy. The story that was printed in several newspapers about the WHO, the World Health Organization, investigators backed Beijing's claim that the COVID-19 virus did not leak from the Wuhan lab, but they're calling for no further study in that theory. Now, look. I understand that they're trying to back their own claim and their own research, but why would you publicly say we shouldn't study this any further? There's nothing to see here. Let's move on. What is the motivation for that declarative sentence in the middle of their report that it doesn't make sense to me? I would never say don't study this anymore, even if I didn't think it merited any more study. You know what I mean? You just don't say that kind of stuff in a scientific paper.
Well, guess what? I think one of the Australia senator, actually, he criticized Beijing when he thought about it too. He thought about it. Yeah. Really, he thought about a question you thought about. Yeah. And this is what he said. He said, he said, through this whole process, China, the investigation process conducted by the World Health Organization, and he said, through this whole process, China has acted like it had something to hide, and it has frustrated the inquiry, dragged it out, and he said, the World Health Organization hasn't exactly covered itself in glory over this period as well. He said it is not really any surprise that a year on, or over a year, that it has become too hard to find the orange of the virus. So we need this inquiry to start pretty much straight away if it was any hope of finding conclusions, and it hasn't, and we will probably never find out where this thing came from. I mean, I think it will put the World Health Organization in a much better position if they make this statement. If they just say we couldn't find it, but instead of saying we couldn't find it, they say, well, it's not likely from the. If you couldn't find the source, how can you exclude the possibility that it was from the lab?
Absolutely. And the other thing that I found very interesting about this is my grandfather was a certified public accountant, and he taught me several things when I was a little kid. And one of them was, if you really want to know what's going on with something, follow the money.
Follow the money.
Follow the money. Okay? So if you're going to use that theory in this case, let's look at where the World Health Organization gets its funding.
All right.
The World Health Organization gets about 10%, which is a substantial amount of its funding, from the Bill Gates Foundation. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation accounts for roughly 10% of the WHO's funding. That's about $531 million. Now, they also get money, the WHO gets money from the Gavi Vaccine Alliance, which is also supported by Bill Gates. That's another $370 million.
Million.
So add that up, that's like $700 million from one funding source. And that's only about 10 to 20% of the total amount of money that comes into the World Health Organization. I would venture to say, and I'm not sure about this, I'm only speculating, but I bet there's a huge amount of money that also comes from the communist government of China.
Well, just talk about Bill Gates, right? Well, let's just talk about Bill Gates. Think about this. Now, think about all these high-tech companies. Bill Gates company has been in China for the longest. Although they didn't, he never made much money.
95, yeah.
Yeah, Microsoft never make much money, but they have been, they never stopped dreaming and, dreaming about occupy Chinese market. Right? So, Bill Gates has been all the good friends with Chinese Communist regime from very beginning. He's always a good friend of a Chinese Communist regime. So, now think about this. The story has been keep changing. Now, it's just like a good old say, if you tell the truth, if you just wake up at the middle of the night, you're not going to change the story because that's just the plain truth, right? But if you try to tell a lie, it always change. Now think about at the very beginning, they say it was from a seafood market, right? And then there were people say it was from monkey, it was from bats, whatever. Then on the March the 13th, I still remember the day. That's 2 days. The March 13th. That's of last year. 2 days after World Health Organization claimed the pandemic. Now, can you believe it? First of all, the World Health Organization director Tedros Ghebreyesus went to Beijing and met Chairman Xi on January the 28th.
Yeah, 2 months earlier.
Yeah. More than 40 days later, he claimed the pandemic. And only 2 days after he claimed the pandemic, now Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian sent a tweet out and said the COVID-19 virus was brought to Wuhan by American military athletes who went to Wuhan to join the military war game in October of 2020. Oh, I'm sorry, that was 2019, October of 2019. So, that's what he claimed. And that's why he got, the Chinese Communist regime got a pushback from Trump administration saying that's a China virus. We didn't start it, right? Because the foreign ministry spokesperson of China actually say, United States own China, and explanation. So that was the second version. So first version of story from Chinese Communist regime was from the Huanan seafood market, and the second version was from America. And now on the January 2nd of this year, they just had a third version. The third version was the foreign minister of China on January 2nd of this year actually made a public appearance and spoke to all the Chinese Communist regime's state-owned media, and that's what he said. He said COVID-19 started from multiple locations all around the world, and China raced to report the epidemic. So China was a hero.
So now it's the third version.
That's the third. That's the third version.
But
now when you keep
remember that they were arrested. Lots of reporters, Chinese journalists, don't let them to report anything. Remember?
Right.
They arrested them. Probably people for
4 years. That person that reported the Wuhan disaster got a 4 years sentence in jail.
Well, and the doctor who reported it ended up dying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the whistleblower.
The whistleblower died.
Yeah, he died like February the 7th. So we just just a few days earlier was the anniversary of his death.
Remember, there's one other thing that everybody forgets about the beginning of this whole thing you just laid out. Here's the thing. Remember, Taiwan got word they were in Wuhan, some scientists, and they quickly went back to Taiwan, told the Taiwanese government that there's a bad virus, and the Taiwanese government for the longest time had very little virus in Taiwan at all, because the government immediately, because they got word that there was this pandemic about to happen, they believed their scientists, and they closed down Taiwan.
Oh yeah. Remember, just like back in what was it?
It was in January, I think.
Yeah, they centralized all the emergency equipment, masks, and all the necessary stuff, so they can distribute it centrally.
Now,
so that's why they did a job. Yeah.
I think there's really something we should learn from Taiwan. Number one, the number one thing is never trust whatever the communist regime of China tell you.
I would tend to agree with that.
Yeah, that's what exactly they did. I mean, they learned a big lesson back in 2003 because of the SARS outbreak.
What'd you say, Amy? I didn't hear you.
I'm saying is that they go there with undercover. They don't want to say this for that purpose. Then immediately they coming back. Because I know my friend in New York worked for this Rockefeller University, the lab. And so they have people from Taiwan personally tell them, because they went to China to find out that, but they was very scared. That's why right away come back, and they was undercover because they don't want the Chinese government know it for that purpose.
That was actually the story. Taiwan. Now, guess what? The current Taiwan president, Tsai Ing-wen, and her whole administrative staff, they were actually the first line managers managing all the health stuff during the emergency of 2003 SARS outbreak.
That's right.
Right? They learned that lesson. So back in 2019 December, when they learned the news, there's an outbreak going on, possibly some sort of pandemic going on in Wuhan, then instead of listening to the Chinese communist regime, they send their undercover doctor directly to Wuhan. Yeah. That's what Amy just told the story. So and then they went back, those doctors went back to Taiwan. Guess what? In the middle of January of last year, I remember the day, January the 16th. January the 16th, one day earlier than the first case in Seattle, right?
Right.
So they already have a news conference held by Taiwan CDC. They say we need to prepare for this.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. Yeah. So it's totally, they really did a good job because they didn't trust the story from World Health Organization and from Chinese Communist regime.
That's right. Mm.
So Amy, let's ask the question: should we or should we not trust the World Health Organization at this point? Let's put that out to the listeners. 479-1080 is the number. Should we trust anything that the World Health Organization is telling us?
And I'm asking the second question: should we allow our taxpayers' money to be sent to World Health Organization? I think that's a more important question. That's money, man. Follow the money. Billy, you just say it. We shouldn't have our money go floating to the organization we didn't even trust.
Yeah. That's right.
You know, we know how much the Gates Foundation is behind funding the WHO, but I wonder how much money the United States government itself sends to the World Health Organization. I could not find, I tried to find that figure, how much money we actually send to the World Health Organization.
Well, Trump administration stopped the funding. So remember, we withdraw from World Health Organization now.
Well, didn't the new president, didn't Mr. Biden refund it?
Well,
what is that amount of money? That's what I want to know.
We don't know yet because we haven't really formally go back to the organization yet. But soon, after we rejoin the organization, I think we're going to send tons of money to that organization, Amy, like the olden days.
Amy, do you know how much money that we originally sent? What the original figure was before Trump cut it off?
No, I don't know.
I don't either.
We are support the United Nations, any organization, and I think 2/3 of the money at least. We are, support all those. That's why we want to be out. We don't want to be in, But the right now is a reset. So
Yeah,
I don't know
right now.
what we can do about that.
So let me ask the other question, and I'm asking this as a layperson who does not know the answer to the question. The old rule in broadcasting is you never ask a question you don't know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it because I don't know the answer.
Like a lawyer in the trial.
Yeah, exactly. What does the World Health Organization actually do for the world health?
Yeah.
That's what I really want to know. Because obviously we're not managing the pandemic very well.
Well, one thing I do know, World Health Organization never allowed Taiwan to attend the meeting. I mean, Taiwan has been for years asking to attend the World Health Organization conference as an observer. They don't even want
a vote.
The right to vote. They don't want it's not they don't want, but they know World Health Organization is not going to give the right to them because they are under the pressure from the Chinese Communist regime. They are just the little puppy of the Communist regime. So they say, well, can we join the conference as an observer so we can at least share the information, because there were 23 million people living in Taiwan. If we can share the information, at least we can provide a better health service to the 23 million people. I mean, they're the people. They have the right to.
They treat Taiwan as like people not even they exist in this earth. What is this? Right?
Yeah. And here's the best part. Up until a little while ago, Taiwan was absolutely the country to be pointed to for their successful dealing with the pandemic in the first place.
Yeah, and Taiwan sent a letter. I remember I wrote a report about it. Taiwan actually sent a report to World Health Organization and say, we want to go to the your conference to share our successful story about how we deal with COVID-19. And then they were not allowed to join the conference.
Very strange. We have a caller from Hollister. Neil is calling in. Neil, you're on China Uber Alice.
Yeah, by the way, I absolutely love your show. There is one frustrating aspect of it, though. I'm having difficulty understanding Amy, and I'm wondering if it's because she's not in studio and calling on a cell phone.
That is, well, she's not on a cell phone, but she's not in the studio, and it is sometimes it's the I believe it's the connection we have to her remote location. But she can't be with us today, so she's joined us remotely.
But if she wrote a book, I'd buy it, I'll tell you that.
Me too, I sure would. And Amy, are you going to write a book?
Yeah. Why not?
Oh, good. When this World Health Organization released the results of its investigation, in quotes, past Secretary of State Pompeo said, there was a reason we pulled our money out of the WHO. I thought that was a good response. It's my understanding that the person running the World Health Organization was a tyrant from Ethiopia who was involved in the murder and torture of many people, but China backed him. So I think the bottom line is that China is getting their money's worth out of all of this.
I think there's that kind of corruption going on with that guy, because lots of information I got from China. They're talking about Chinese government offer him a lot of things. You know, it's not the surface you see, it's the money, but the other things to taking care of him. Yeah, the kind of corruption.
Well, I understand China has great influence on many international organizations, that this is just part of a big global pattern.
Well, the problem is, when American government gave money to these international organizations, we want the transparency, right? When China try to deal with international organizations, they play all the secret cards, like this director of World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, from Ethiopia that you just mentioned. It's true. I mean, it was because the China supporting him. So he was elected. Yeah. So of course he's going to take all the words from Chairman Xi, and he's not going to listen to either Trump or Biden. I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, they don't listen to American. That's fine. But the part I don't understand is why should we send tens of millions of dollars and potential even hundreds of millions of dollars of American taxpayer to this organization? I mean, this is just outrageous.
Yeah, that's a good, very good question.
Outrageous. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for the call. We appreciate it. Yeah, that's it's a very good question. By the way, it was revealed in a news report recently that Dr. Tedros received support from Beijing while in the running to become the WHO chief, and that China had often donated large sums of money to governments and organizations that he had been a part of previously. So it's, it dovetails rather nicely when you follow the money, as my grandfather urged me to do.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, China is always playing this card. I mean, because they got, in the United Nations, they got all bunch of small nations. That's like little puppies of them. I remember back in... it's so long ago. I really don't remember. It was probably 2003 or 2004. I went to Geneva, the United Nations Human Rights Organization, to appeal to join. We were protesting outside of United Nations, ask them to investigate the persecution of Falun Gong in China. So now and then there are people presenting their stories, their personal stories, and then there were a media of Epoch Times over there to present our investigation of the persecution. Now you got a bunch of third world countries. I mean, they all sided with China. Guess what? They were all getting monies from the regime. That's why. I mean, that's how they play this card. I mean, you think that, the multilateralism, it's good for the war, it has two sides. It always has a dark side.
More than two sides, I would think.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, you laid out beautifully our discussion with your story this morning about propaganda and brainwashing. I think that what we have going on here is an attempt in this WHO fact-finding farce. I don't know how else to call this. That they're trying to use propaganda to brainwash the rest of us into believing that Wuhan didn't start this.
Well, I have to point out one thing. I mean, the difference between this story and Amy's story was there's a difference. Okay, the Amy's story is about the communist regime brainwash people, while the story we're talking about now is a World Health Organization that's helping the communist regime brainwash everyone in the international society. Now, think about this.
Except that before you continue, let me just say this. There are many news organizations around the world who are calling this, quote, a WHO whitewash. They are saying in news stories right after this one was published, wait a minute, this can't possibly be right based on the evidence.
That's right. We already raised many questions in our first hour discussion.
That's right. And speaking of that, we've almost come to the end of our first hour. Let me remind folks of a couple of things. We have a website. That's ChinaUberAlice.com. You can go there. You can sign up for our newsletter, and you can peruse all kinds of information about our program and about China in general. I urge you to go there. We will be right back to end the first hour. We have one more hour to talk to you about this. We will be right back on China Uber Alice. Satisfy your hunger right now with the delicious ramen and sushi you'll find waiting for you at Kaito, a couple of minutes walk to the ocean at 830 41st Avenue in Pleasure Point. Special orders welcome. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, this is Koji. I'm looking forward to seeing you at Kaito.
If you have trees to manage at your home or business, get to know Santa Cruz County's employee-owned Davy Tree experts. Listen to what your friends and neighbors have to say about Santa Cruz Davy Tree.
Hello, I'm Marlene. We used to prune our trees and shrubs, but I always worried about those shaky ladders. Then I saw a Davy tree chipping up the neighbor's branches, and I thought, no dump fees. I gave them a call, they came out, gave me a bid, and we've been using them ever since. Davy Tree experts are professional, cost-effective, local, and always make our trees and hedges look great. And now I can relax.
Assign your trees and shrubs to the experts at Santa Cruz Davy Tree and relax. Serving Santa Cruz and northern Monterey County, home and business owners, Santa Cruz Davy Tree. 831-291-5341 or davytree.com.
Though the rain might fall, the wind might blow, and the earth might shake, the folks at JM Electric still get up in the morning to go to work for you. I'm Charles Friedman here with Chris Jensen of JM Electric. Chris, I understand JM has been declared an essential business.
That's right, Charles. The President wants us to get up in the morning and make certain our customers' homes and businesses have the energy they need and that all their electrical systems are safe and secure.
Sounds like quite a job, given all the electricity everyone is using at home these days.
Electricity use is up, Charles, and we want everyone to know that though JM Electric is practicing all the safety protocols now in effect, folks can still expect the same dependable, honest, and trustworthy JM Electric service our industrial and home-owning clients have come to expect over the past 7 decades.
Folks, to check on the electrical circuits in your walls or to electrify your next project, call on family-owned JM Electric. 831-422-7819 or jmelectric.com.
KSCO has some of the most intelligent listeners on the planet, and most intelligent minds want to know, what are my options for taking Social Security benefits? Do I need an estate plan? When, where, and how do I enroll in Medicare? If you want answers to these and other hot financial topics, listen to Money Moves. Host Pamela Fugit-Hedrick and her guests have tips and tools you'll need so you can manage your money effectively. That's Money Moves, 7 p.m. Thursdays here on KSCO.
Satisfy your hunger with a fresh, prepared twice daily grab-and-go sushi you'll find waiting for you at Sushi Market Sprouts, 2 blocks from the beach at 300 7th Avenue in Santa Cruz. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, I'm Junko, and I look forward to serving you at the Sushi Market Sprouts.
We are coming to an end of our first hour here. Nan Su and Amy Howe and myself, Bill Graff, will be back for the second hour of China Uber Alice. We do have to bring you up to date with some national news and information, a look at traffic and some weather, and we will be back in about 6 minutes right here on AM 1080 KSCO Santa Cruz. I want to remind you that our program is brought to you by some great sponsors. China Uber Alice is brought to you in part by Sushi Market Sprouts on 7th in Santa Cruz and Kaito Ramen and Japanese Tapas on 41st in Capitola. Treat yourself to the finest Japanese cuisine you'll find anywhere with fresh sushi to go and delicious ramen and tapas dinners. Sushi Market Sprouts and Kaito. Yum.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. House impeachment managers have wrapped up their case against former President Trump. Capitol Hill correspondent Bob Agnew reports.
It's been nearly 2 full days of House Democrats making virtually the same argument, again and again focusing on sometimes graphic footage of the January 6th Capitol riot, tweets from far-right groups who voice support for the former president, all while hoping to tie the violence that day to President Trump. It was an argument that often took for granted the former president was the cause of the riot. Things are about to change, though, as the former president's attorneys begin tomorrow to lay out their defense. They've already signaled they'll make the case that his sometimes fiery rhetoric is both constitutionally protected and common among politicians. Bob Agnew reporting.
The number of Americans filing for unemployment fell slightly last week.
While first-time claims for jobless benefits were down at 793,000, they remain evidence job cuts remain high. The Labor Department report also revised its numbers from a week ago upward, now showing 812,000 applied for benefits. Before coronavirus infections erupted in the U.S. last March, weekly applications for jobless aid had never topped 700,000, even during the Great Recession. Nearly 10 million jobs remain lost to the pandemic. Ben Thomas, Washington.
Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was prepared to plead guilty to third-degree murder in George Floyd's death before then-Attorney General William Barr personally blocked the plea last year. Two law enforcement officials with direct knowledge of the talks say the deal would have averted any potential federal charges, including a civil rights offense. Chick Corea, a towering jazz pianist with a staggering 23 Grammy Awards, has died at the age of 79. Corea pushed the boundaries of the genre and worked alongside Miles Davis and Herbie Hancock. Corea died Tuesday of a rare form of cancer. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 7. More at townhall.com.
This is Dave Michaels inviting you to join me down at the Dave Cave this week, Monday through Friday, because we are having a huge sale, and you're invited to stock up and save big. Whether it's for you, your pet, family members, or your garden, we've probably got what you're looking for with prices that you won't find anywhere else. Buy one or more Beyond Tangy Tangerine product at regular price and get a 30% discount on the rest of your order for any other longevity products. This means that BTT will not be on sale, but everything else is. Big-time discounts. OsteoFX, Glucogel, collagen peptides, Arthrodex, Sweeties, and more discounted at 30% when you buy your BTT at regular price. Remember to take care of your immune system with vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, Killer Biotic, and Immune FX. And while you're here, be sure to pick up your official Flight 1080 and KSCO gear for you and your loved ones. We've got high-quality knitted hats, jackets, T-shirts, sweatshirts, and ProFit hats. Don't miss the latest sale down at the Dave Cave, Monday through Friday, 12 till 7 p.m.
Here's the townhall.com business brief.
Stocks closing mixed on Wall Street as investors remain cautiously optimistic about prospects for a new round of government aid. As the economic recovery seemingly stalls, Wall Street continues to digest solid corporate earnings and updates on a decline of new virus cases. The latest government report on jobless claims, though, reaffirmed that unemployment remains a weak spot in the economy as vaccine distribution ramps up in the hopes of eventually ending the pandemic and its impact. Technology stocks led the gainers today. The Dow was down 7 points, closing at 31,430. The Nasdaq gained 53 to 14,025. The S&P 500 up 6 to 3,916. New York oil fell 44 cents, closing at $58.24 a barrel. With business, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. How do you cram enough candles onto a birthday cake for one of the world's oldest survivors of COVID-19? The answer is, with 117 candles, you can't.
A French nun, who is believed to be the world's second oldest person, is celebrating her 117th birthday in style. There were plans for champagne and red wine and a feast with her favourite dessert. Her packed day included a mass in her honour by the Bishop of Toulon, which made her very proud. Sister Andre tested positive for the coronavirus in mid-January, but she had so few symptoms that she didn't even realise she was infected. Her survival made headlines both in France and beyond. I'm Karen Chamas.
Police say at least 5 people were killed and dozens injured in a massive crash involving 75 to 100 vehicles on an icy Texas interstate. The pileup on Interstate 35W near downtown Fort Worth happened as a winter storm is dropping freezing rain, sleet, and snow. More at townhall.com.
KSCO News Talk time is 3:05. I'm Sam Quinton with your King of the Hill traffic and weather. Starting off, Highway 1 south of Big Sur is closed from 2 miles north of Ragged Point to mile marker 16 just north of Pacific Valley Road. Elsewhere, Santa Cruz County Highway 17 northbound at Mount Herman Road. We have a traffic hazard reported there. That is a 2x4 in the number 2 lane. Units are on the scene there. In King City, Highway 101 southbound at Thorn Avenue, traffic collision reported there. Only one vehicle involved that I know of. There are units at the scene. There is a man injured in that. Elsewhere, Highway 17
other than that little thing on Mount Herman Road. It's clear and moving at the limit. Highway 9, that is clear. Highway 1 from the Fishhook down to Monterey, that is clear. 129, 152, also clear. Highway 101 southbound between South Coyote and Morgan Hill. You're going to find slow and go traffic there. Could be 6 to 8 minute delay to get through that area. Your Central Coast forecast for the rest of the afternoon. Rain mainly after 5 p.m. High looking for 59 degrees. West winds around 11 p.m. Tonight, rain, then chance of rain, it says. That's odd. Looking for an overnight low of 43 degrees. Right now outside the KSCO studios, it is 57 degrees. Now we return to the second hour of China Uber Alice on KSCO.
China Uber Alice is brought to you in part by Sushi Market Sprouts on 7th in Santa Cruz and Kaito Ramen and Japanese Tapas on 41st in Capitola. Treat yourself to the finest Japanese cuisine you'll find anywhere with fresh sushi to go and delicious ramen and tapas dinners. Sushi Market Sprouts and Kaito. Yum. Welcome back to the second hour of China Uber Alice. I'm Bill Graff. I'm joined by Nan Su, the senior reporter for the Epoch Times, and Amy Howe, our Cultural Revolution and Re-Education Camp survivor, who tells us a story at the beginning of each program, and somehow it always manages to set the tone for the show, which is what happened today. Welcome back to China Uber Alice. It's, 6 minutes? About 8 minutes past 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Nan, we have a situation where I think this topic is the topic that's never going to go away.
Well, I think so. Well, maybe I think people had a very short memory nowadays. Let's quickly review what has happened ever since the beginning. I remember our State Department issue a statement that they have the evidence. Right. The Chinese regime knew there was a pandemic. Or there was epidemic at the time, whatever you call it, as early as the middle of November of 2019.
I believe the first news story I saw about this, and I think Amy will collaborate this, I think the first story said something like it's a very, very virulent flu. That's what they thought it was. Am I right on that, Amy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the beginning. That was October or something.
Yeah,
it's actually they had a I remember I saw myself a news report from South China Morning Post on November the 17th. They found a government paper that says they found something dangerous going on. And then we know for a fact, because we have the paper, that the Wuhan City CDC issued an internal memo. That was an internal memo on December 30th of 2019, and start asking people pay attention for investigation for unknown cause pneumonia. Mm-hmm. On the December 30th of 2019, and was on the same day, Dr. Li Wenliang, the famous whistleblower, and the 7 other doctors working in Wuhan health system, and they sent their message through their social media platform and warned their friends and families and social circle that there was a possible and a SARS outbreak at that time.
Correct.
They say SARS outbreak.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, January the 1st, all the Chinese state-owned media, CCTV, Xinhua News, People's Daily, all reported the 8 doctors in Wuhan detained for spreading rumors about SARS outbreak.
And yet, early on, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but early on in this, shortly after, everybody realized this is a bad, has the real makings of a pandemic, or at least a very virulent disease that people are worried about, China built a hospital in Wuhan.
Yeah.
And
right.
they built the hospital from beginning to end in like 3 weeks.
Uh-huh.
This thing was 8 stories high or 9 stories high. In like 8 weeks, they built this hospital to get it ready because they knew, somebody knew somewhere that they were going to need extra hospital space. I've never seen a building go up that fast.
Yeah, and also think about this. There's few things that we need to remember. That the lockdown of city Wuhan was January the 23rd. All right, the January 23rd was the day they locked down the city of Wuhan, and now just 2 days, actually 2 days before they locked down the city of Wuhan, on January the 21st. January the 21st, 2 days before they locked down the city of Wuhan, the Wuhan Institute of Virology already filed a patent application to use remdesivir to treat COVID-19. Remember that?
Yes.
And remdesivir. So how many of you ever heard of the name remdesivir? The name of the medicine, before like March of last year.
Well, in all honesty, you almost never hear it now.
Well,
I mean, it's in the news now because the president, talked about it and some other things happened. But even now, for the size of the pandemic, that's not a big story.
Yeah, but however,
it should be, but it's not.
Well, think about it. China said this is start from the multi-locations all around the world. But China was the only one on January 21st, before the lockdown of city of Wuhan. They already find a treatment using American medicine. It was invented by American drug company Gilead Sciences, headquartered in Foster City. Supposedly, it was developed to treat Ebola. And it was not even approved by FBI at that time. And China already filed the patent application using that medicine to treat COVID-19.
It's a little fishy, isn't it?
Yeah.
The timing's really fishy.
And then say, wow, it's actually start from multiple locations all around the world. China raced to report it. They're the hero because they first exposed this pandemic. Give me a break.
Yeah, that time I only can remember, man, we did the Saturday special on January. Already talked about that time is Wuhan, the only one locked it down, remember?
Yeah.
It's not at that place at all, talking about.
And keep in mind, before the lockdown of city of Wuhan on January 23rd last year, more than 5 million people left the city. I mean, that's how the pandemic is spreading all around the world. People flying all around the world.
Yeah. That's right.
Scary series of events, a very scary series of events that we have in the timeline, which you've very capably laid out here. So
right now they make this report because they think everybody the Alzheimer or what.
Well, they think everyone, every American or everyone around the world all had a short memory. They already forgot about what.
You don't remember,
And also, not to mention, 2 days after the lockdown the city of Wuhan, on January 25th of last year, Chinese military sent their top biochemical warfare expert, General Dr. Chen Wei, to take over control of that lab.
Now, you should say that again, slowly. Repeat that. China sent
its top military biochemical warfare expert, General Dr. Chen Wei, 2 days after they locked down the city of Wuhan to take over control of Wuhan Institute of Virology.
Bioweapons
research
expert.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, that whole sentence you just laid out there slowly so we could all hear it scares the living, well, It scares me really badly.
And also,
why would China? No, let me ask I have to ask the rhetorical question. Why would China assign a bioweapons expert to control that situation? That's a really big and valid question.
Yeah, I'm telling you that
they already refused, and any other country send a scientist or whatever to look at. Remember, they already refused. Nobody can get in.
Amy's correct. They shut it down.
Yeah, and also just remember this. Since we are talking about biochemical warfare research. Now, our State Department issued a paper just last month, which request China to explain how the funding provided by U.S. administration to help the civilian project of Wuhan Institute of Virology was used. They want to make sure.
Because they're worried it went to the Chinese military.
That's it. Because that lab, Wuhan Institute of Virology, they conduct both civilian research project and military biochemical warfare research project. And we didn't know about it. They applied the funding, and we gave to them some money. And then our State Department sent a public statement out last month by Mr. Pompeo and request explanation if they had used our money, American taxpayers' money, for the biochemical warfare research purpose.
So let me ask Amy, because of her background, she has been sent to re-education camps, right, under Mao. Okay, so I'm going to ask her a question. Should we trust the Chinese government if they're conducting civilian research and military warfare research in the same location? Should we trust anything they say about it?
Are you kidding me? Absolutely not.
Okay, well, there you have then you have the correct, you have look, Amy, I trust Amy's point of view on this one, okay? She knows how the Chinese Communist government operates to this very day. If we shouldn't be trusting what they say about what's going on in that lab in Wuhan, should we be trusting anything they're saying about the World Health Organization?
Well, I don't think so. Well, that's why I found that report from World Health Organization is very disturbing. It's really misleading to the people who whoever that might read the report. I think it's going to be confused.
Yes. We have several.
So what's our official response to that?
I don't think the United States government has come up with an official response on this latest story about the World Health Organization. I'd be interested to know that, Amy. Nothing yet. I haven't seen. I've been looking before the show today, and I haven't seen any response yet. Let's take some phone calls.
By the way, who is our health administration the head right now? Who is that?
Is it Fauci?
A new one.
Is Fauci confirmed?
CDC.
Yeah.
I thought it was Fauci, but I hope I don't know.
Look it up or try to find
I'll go look it up.
And we'll take a phone call. Our first phone call from Donna in Scotts Valley. Donna, you're on KSCO and China Uber Alice.
Oh, well, thank you so much for this show and all the information. I look forward to it. I would like to know, and I have a friend in Switzerland that I asked this to, and she just said, oh, we're not concerned who started it, we're just concerned of the resolution, how to solve it. But I don't understand. The old saying, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's got to be a duck. Well, what China has done to the whole world, practically, they've shut down the whole world. And I don't trust them at all about this virus. Not at all. It could be, and just as 50% could be for 50%, maybe not. But I just wonder from you, what does the world say about this? Do you read any papers, or do you have any information if anybody else is suspicious and whatever? Or is it just us?
Well, no, it's not just us. First of all, let me answer that categorically. It's not just us. It's not those of us, just us listening to this program today, or those of us who are participating. It is news organizations around the world are following this. They have many questions about the origin. There are many folks around the world who agree with your friend in Switzerland. We don't really care how this thing started. We got to get a handle on it, and that point of view is fairly valid at this point, because there's nothing we can do about how it started anymore. We now have to try to deal with the aftermath. But I will say this, there are governments around the world who are trying to figure this out.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it's very important for us to find out where the orange is.
Oh, I agree with that.
Because it really decides how the world is going to deal with Chinese Communist regime. Now, think about this. The World Health Organization's investigation team always was not able to go to China because the Australian government criticizing China as cover up. So it's to me, when I was just a week before the World Health Organization sent their investigation team to China, they are still exchange criticism between Chinese government and the Australian government. To me, it was almost like the World Health Organization made some sort of agreement with Chinese Communist regime before the regime actually allowed the team to go to Wuhan. Yeah. So I don't know what kind of agreement is. I'm just speculating it, but that's what I thought it happened.
Amy,
we demand the transparency.
Yeah.
For WHO. It seems like nothing.
Well, look, the name of the organization kind of says it all for me. They're the World Health Organization. Yeah. They should be transparent.
Well, they should be. Now, and also one thing, it was mentioned that it was Australia that started requesting the investigation of the origin of the COVID-19. Yeah. And Australia got sanctioned by Chinese Communist regime. They stopped importing their mining products.
Yeah, Amy pointed that out 2 shows ago.
Yeah.
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 And we should remind folks, Donna, let me remind you that in the world community of nations, we often forget about Australia because it's so far away. But Australia has been an ally and a friend of Europe and the United States and Canada and Mexico for decades. They fought with us in several wars. Our military conducts exercises with their military. We have joint protection agreements with Australia and New Zealand. And so when
then the Five Eyes organization.
Right, the Five Eye organization.
Yeah.
And
I
so
think 2 weeks ago on our show, remember the guy from Australia called.
That's
about this, how the China censored them because they wanted to find out the thing. Remember, 2 weeks ago. That's why we just remember.
Absolutely. And so when Australia says something along the lines that look, we've been rebuffed by China, we need to pay attention to that. We need to keep that in the back of our minds that this is an outstanding member of the international community that has been slapped in the face by China.
Yep.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. And it's pretty hard to not question it. And but you said, like my friend in Switzerland, you said, something that we're just thinking about the resolve. But I don't see that. I mean, they really need to be slapped hard if this happens.
Well, I think we need to address. This is just my opinion, okay? But I think we need to do both. I think we need to get a handle on quelling this virus around the world, and then at the same time we should also figure out where it came from so we can slap somebody's wrist pretty hard. about
That's
where
right.
it came from. But I think
Yeah,
we need
it's
to address
dangerous
both
thing.
sides of the coin here.
Boy,
Yeah.
thank you so
Most
much. Thanks for
dangerous
taking my
thing.
call.
Donna, thank you for calling.
Okay.
Let's move on to Gary, who's calling from Live Oak. If I push the right button here. Gary, you're on KSCO.
Yeah, you got me. Very important program. I haven't heard for a long time now about the special agent from the FBI. His name is Robert Plum, and he's a special agent, and he reported, and I've got 19 pages of an application and affidavit from January 2020 that Dr. Get his name here, Wilbur from Harvard, was hired by Wuhan in 2010. He received $150,000 a year, plus personal living expenses, top flights back and forth from Harvard to Wuhan, and was awarded $1.5 million from Wuhan and the Chinese government. He kept two separate accounts. All the information he brought Chinese people from Red China to Harvard and Harvard people to Wuhan. The origin is important. I disagree with Billy Graff that just because news organization thinks it's a valid opinion to take care of it rather than find out the origins. I think the origins are most important. I also believe
Gary,
that
you misunderstood.
I've dropped off a number of items to this program. I've also been told that this program has an email address where it can accept documents. You do not. I've put a book as recent as 2020, The Deep State Trojan Horse in America, China. I've never had the courtesy of an acknowledgement. I've been fighting for the free Chinese since 1982.
Gary?
And nobody, and I don't think your
Gary?
co-hosts have been given that information.
Gary, I have the
Bill,
book.
yes.
I have the book next to me.
Okay.
Right next to me. It's sitting next to me on the desk. Okay? We have talked about it. We did acknowledge the fact that you dropped it off. And the other thing is, you misunderstood what I said. I didn't say we should not care about the origin of the virus. I simply said we should address both getting it under control and finding the origin at the same time. You need to pay attention a little better.
Okay, well, the other thing that you jumped into is that Five Eyes, the five organizations, Canada is part of Five Eyes, like Australia. They're training Red Chinese communist pilots. You know that?
Look, I have no idea what they're doing in Canada about training pilots, but...
Well, you should know, Bill, and I think the fact that I can't communicate to your co-host is because somebody is filtering information to them. Tell people how they can reach your co-host.
Well, I actually read a report about the Chinese, Canadian. They provide their military base to help training the Chinese military personnel. Yeah, I read that report actually.
Yeah,
yes, it is true, and also,
Gary, let me ask. Gary,
one last thing.
Let me ask a question.
The biggest Chinese communist collaborator is Leon Panetta, who has two monuments on the courthouse steps dedicated to Hugh DeLacy, who provided Solomon Adler and other people to the Chinese intelligence. Leon Panetta has never been talked against by Bill or MZ or anybody else, and he's the biggest pro-Red Chinese espionage asset in the world.
Okay, Gary, I have no proof of that, so for you to say that
I've got all that proof.
Okay, all right.
You've been sent it because you got a paper box out in front that will not go to your co-host.
Gary, hang on a second.
You're blocking information.
Gary,
yes, go ahead.
Gary,
all right.
I would appreciate if you not scream at me. And second of all, you notice I haven't turned you off. So I'm going to ask my co-hosts, both of them, have I ever censored any information to you?
Well, there is no.
No, I'm not talking to you, Gary. I'm talking to my co-host.
Yeah, no, I'm asking if they have an email address.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Bill has been really open to help us getting all the
Gary,
can you tell me an email address? I'd love to give you information, please.
Go ahead, Amy.
Yes, I just want to talk to Gary. I absolutely 100% agree with you. The origin is very, very important in order to never happen again, because this time they got away. So they will do much more harm and unbelievable things to the whole world. That's what I wanted to say. And then talking about the communication, I think we're supposed to have on the website, we both, Nan and I and Billy, we all have to separate the email address.
Yes.
Yeah, on the website, right?
Yes.
If the email is there to push documents or to drop documents in, usually it's a little tiny square postage stamp size that you can't send documents to. You can only say things, and who knows who's crushing it. I just encourage you. Santa Cruz is one of the biggest red Chinese communist centers. We've got the Leon Panetta's campaign finance manager giving the key to the city in 2015 to communist Angela Davis. We've got...
Well, that was a long time ago, Gary.
No, 5 years ago. Is that a long time, Bill?
All right, look, if you want to send... Look, Non-Suze has an email at the Epoch Times website. You can also send anything you want to anybody here at the radio station. Just say regarding China Uber Alice, and it will get to Nan and to Amy. You have my email address. I've been sent stuff by you for years.
Yeah, so last couple ones were blocked. You may have a new email
I did not
address.
block anything. My email is not blocked. My email is not blocked. Let's make that clear.
Put out the new email for...
No, we have to... I think we have to talk to John B. about that, and then maybe can on the website, the email can attach any attachments, and Gary want to send it to us. Because I never receive anything, so I don't know. I'm not sure. So we have to check with John B.
Yeah, well, we need to check with our web designer and make sure all our emails are listed.
Gary, I got a full board. I got to move on, okay?
Okay. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay.
And happy Chinese New Year, Gary.
Bye-bye.
All right. Let's, who's been on the longest here? That would be Lee in Spreckles. Okay, if I push the right button, Lee should be on the electric radio. Hello.
Hello there. You're on a subject that has been way overdue for being focused on and addressing, and that is, how did it get started? Where did it come from? And can they make some more, or whatever's going on here? Well, I have a newsman that started under the KSCO umbrella years ago, and the first day when it happened and surfaced, in that week, Alex Jones brought on a man that he deeply trusts. He sets standards for level 4 and level 5 labs like that is involved here, and his name is Anthony A. Boyle. And Alex brought him on, and I'm listening to him, and Anthony was, like we would all be at that time, taking in the information, and he said to Alex, well, at the end of that day, he says, I'm going to have to come back to you. And so that was sort of the end. And then 3 days later, Anthony comes back to Alex, and he says, Alex, now this is live on the air. He says, listen to what I found. I found a newspaper clipping, and I can't tell you the name of the newspaper, but it's in the Carolinas, and it was the North Carolina University was parting with, they have a level 4 lab there, I believe, and they were parting with this technology and selling it to the Chinese in Wuhan, and the Obama administration was allowing the sale of $300,000 in 2002 to go through. Now, Anthony Boyle is not I think he either carries both. He's an attorney and a PhD. I'm not going to give you his credentials because you can check that. But the most important thing is that this is something that is homegrown, and people need to get the truth out. Christ said the truth will set us free. And so I say to you, go to Alex Jones. Because of Google and Facebook and Twitter, they've messed with him. They've banned him. So you have to go to banned.video and see if you can pull it up, this information. Go to Alex personally in Austin, Texas. Michael Swerling knows how to get a hold of him. And Alex is got, and what that day, that second day that he interviewed Anthony A. Boyle, he said, my God, you've got the smoking gun.
Well, we appreciate the information. We'll put it out there for us.
One thing I don't understand is you say it was sold to China in 2002 under Obama administration. I mean, Obama was not even the president yet in 2002.
No. Apparently it may have surfaced at that time being available or something, and then when it got to a certain point in time, then it was. So you'll have to get. Alex will put the light to the. I mean, you got to measure.
Well, we'll follow the story. We'll look it up. Okay.
I hope you do.
All right. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. God bless you.
Bye, Lee. All right. Let's check in with who's next. That would be Westside Al. Al, you're on China Uber Alice.
Oh, yeah, that was some good info from that last. I caught part of that a long time ago, but what it kind of leads to, all right, it's a widespread problem. And what's happening is you got these advanced military countries. That's part of their program, biological warfare. So even if we nail China, Russia's going to still do it. And then Iran, so it's part of their counter-espionage, so it's really hard to get a grip on.
So what do you suggest we do, Al?
That's what I'm asking. Maybe Non and Amy got an idea, because I ain't got a clue. It scares the hell out of me, because it looks like this is how wars are going to be fought in the future.
Well, first of all, Al, I think you're asking a great question. And I think the only thing we are able to do now is to decouple from China. I mean, think about this. Think about during the Cold War time, why couldn't, the Russia, the former Soviet Union, come to our country, do a lot of things? Why instead, the China can come to the United States and the Western world to do all kind of things? It's just because we allow them. I mean, if we all decouple our economy from China, we'll never have this problem. I mean, if we we deal with China in the same way we dealt with former Soviet Union, those things will never come to the Western world. I mean, we allow them to come to our door. We open our door. We let them into the WTO. We let them take millions of jobs away from us. We let them to steal the investment from us. We let them to come to our university campus to brainwash our college students. We allow them to penetrate all different professional fields here in the high-tech company, in our commercial operations, in our institutions, in our government. We allow them. I mean, we allow them. I mean, of course they will take advantage. It's just our foreign policy, mainly the China policy.
Amy, what do you think?
Yes, Al, I want to say, I mean, right now, think about now, I just read about the China, the official newspaper talk about the Wednesday, the conversation Biden and Chairman Xi. So they talking about, it's like the last 4 years, they talk down to our country, say it's like a bad kid and did a bad thing for 4 years. Now it's time to come back. the whole thing, like, I don't know, that probably never translated to English. And then our media and never really reported it, probably very briefly mentioned that they have a conversation. But China, they wrote the big articles about that. So just like in the United States, because, before we allowed them to do anything, so of course, why not? So basically right now, they already control lots of things, control lots of world organizations. So I don't know, everything seems like 4 years ago we started doing that, and to this spring then, now everything's reset, one by one. So what are we supposed to do?
Well, that's a good question, Amy. That's a very good question. All right. Well, I don't know, Al, if we answered your question, but you got the response.
Well, I appreciate that, because it's a step in the right direction, because I believe with what we've been just told, I think is the truth. At least we can start to recognize what the problem is.
Yeah.
Then maybe we can work to correct it. I really appreciate it, y'all. Thank you.
Well, thanks for calling. We appreciate your call.
Thank you for the call.
Oh, thank you for the call. And by the way, we just have one previous caller who asking who is the Secretary of Health and Human Service. That's the acting Secretary of Health and Human Service right now. It's Norris Cochrane. He has been as the acting Secretary of Health and Human Service ever since January the 20th.
Okay, so we'll find out if he's given the permanent job or if he's replaced by the new administration. We're not sure at this point.
No.
All right. Okay. So let's move on. Let's check in with Pete, who's called us from Aptos. Let's see if I got to push the right button here. Pete, you're on KSCO.
Hey, great. Thanks, you guys. I appreciate it. I listen to you guys all the time. When we're talking about the Wuhan and, where the virus started and all that, and you hear people saying from China, they were pointing fingers at the United States. And I think we have some culpability here. It was in 2013, I think, that Congress said, hey, we're not going to do any more development here on viruses in America. And we financed that development in China. The United States financed $3.7 million to finance that stuff. And there's a buddy of mine, he goes, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. He goes, I go out and find the facts. I think it was like 2013, Congress said, we're not going to do this anymore in America. And Mr. Dr. Fauci has about 17, what do you call it when you got patents on all these viruses. He's becoming ultra rich.
Yeah, I've read that myself, actually, that he has quite a vested interest in virology around the world. So. And just, I don't know, it's just when we have people like the NBA and, God bless LeBron James, but he doesn't have a clue. I've been to Hong Kong. I've been to China. And when they're going to take over Hong Kong like they did, Taiwan's next. And what are we going to do? We're just going to let them just take over the whole East over there? It's really getting ugly. And, these guys, they're building ships. They're building aircraft carriers. They got the biggest army in the world. I mean, it's ugly. I have a partner of mine. I represent. I've been to China a couple times. I represent countries. Factories over there. They're crazy, and they do what they want to do. And the reason why you're seeing the gentleman that hosts the show, it says we just gave and let them do all this. Yeah, who's they let them do all this? All big corporations in America. I work in the Silicon Valley, and there's buildings over there with Flextronics or Selectron or Han Hai who builds for Apple. They used to have 9,000 people just in one building in Milpitas and 8,000 people in the other building in Milpitas. So when those people those factories leave and they go to China, you just can't replace those kind of jobs. And so this has been going on for a while, and it's just I can't believe that America lets it go on, and they because big business and Pete, I think that's one of the reasons why we decided to do this program is so that we could let folks know that this kind of stuff is happening, because up to this point, it's largely quelled in the press.
There's no press. There is no press.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys do a great job, and I love the station. The other day I called and said, Rosie should be put up for Woman of the Year. My God, what you guys, no, seriously, what you guys do, I was calling from Cabrillo, and the last time I have been over there, because I was getting a test for the COVID, I was over there when that fallen officer was here, and she was, doing it live, from there, and I think you were there too, Bill.
I was.
And you two were there. Well, I came up and talked to, my name is Pete from Aptos.
Well, Pete, we appreciate the call. Thank you.
Anyway, thank you guys.
All right.
Thank you, Pete.
Pete raises some good points in his call. The fact that, this stuff needs to be talked about. I guess that's why we're doing the show.
And think about this. It's like, our strategy in the last half century, ever since Henry Kissinger, it was just like if we help China to grow and we help China have better economy, help China become richer, help China have more middle class, China will change. But no.
China hasn't changed.
Hasn't changed. Now, give you a story.
Amy's stories illustrate the fact how they haven't changed.
That's right. You haven't changed, and that's just number one. And just like just a few days ago, there was a telephone call between our Secretary of State Blinken. Uh-huh. Yeah, he had a phone conversation with China's director of foreign relationship committee. He's in charge of. He's the former foreign minister. Now he's in charge of that. So they had a phone conversation. Now the Secretary of State Blinken actually said during the phone conversation that we concerned about the human rights issues in Hong Kong, Tibet, and Uyghur group that's in Xinjiang, and we concerned about the safety of Taiwan. Now when China, the state-owned newspaper reported, they reported the phone conversation between the two, but they purposely removed that part.
Yeah, eliminated all the things that he has a concern of.
That's right. So you see, the reason they think about why they eliminate all this content, because they don't want to change.
Not only that, they don't want anybody else to hear it.
That's
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we have calls stacked up here. Let's go to Nancy in Carmel. Nancy, you're on KSCO.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
This is the best show on air anywhere.
Wow, that's high praise. Thank you.
Nancy. I really, really mean it, and I wish you guys could be national somehow, because this info needs to be gotten out. I just called, what I had in mind was reiterated by Pete and Nan, who both mentioned the connection to corporation. And I think we are basically becoming a fascist country who listens to money over everything else. And greed will bring you down.
Yeah.
Some people worship it, but I'm telling you, every single time in the end, it's not going to be your friend. And we, as a nation, have become unbelievably greedy, because if we weren't doing what we're doing now, we wouldn't be in this mess, and it's all because of greed. It's looking over very, very essential moral items in lieu of making money, and I think this country's better than that. I don't think we need to use other countries for cheap labor. Why we started doing that is only because of greed. We are very, very well endowed with every element and resource in the world right here in the United States. We could do everything ourselves, but we're too focused on profit. So if we could just get out of that mode somehow and do it ourselves and get unallianced from all of this stuff. We're such hypocrites. We'll do business with countries who do slaves, but then we say slaves have got to be, chastised all over our country and monuments taken down and everything else. So it's just really two-sided crap, excuse my expression. And That's what I wanted to say, and I love you guys
very
much.
You said it very well, and we appreciate the sentiment. And you're absolutely right. You know, my as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, my grandfather told me when I really wanted to find out about something, follow the money. And he was right. He was right. All right. We have, wow, this phone board's lit up like a Christmas tree. Let's see if we can get Mike in Santa Cruz. Mike's on line 3. Mike, you're on KSCO and China Uber Alice.
Hi, guys. I just want to say really great show. Are these shows archived anywhere that I can watch them? I missed the first part of today's show.
Yes, they are. They're archived on a couple of places. Probably the easiest one for you to find is on the ZBS radio website. Just go to zbsradio.com, and a bunch of shows from KSCO are listed on that website. We also listed on our own website, ChinaUberAlice.com. I have heard that website is right now being serviced, and you may not be able to go there right now. Jonty, our web guy, is working on the website at the moment. So.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Also, an earlier caller expressed some frustration about emails. I emailed some information about the guy who they said was hit in the head with the guard at the Capitol building, who they said was hit in the head with a fire extinguisher, and then how that story looks like it's not true. I emailed some links about that to your info@ChinaUberAlice.com email address, and it bounced. So
it did bounce? Well, that may be why Jonty's working on the website, because it is right now. The website is down. He's got it. He's servicing the website, and so some of those links may not be working. And I'll get, when we're done with the program today, I'll get on the phone with our web guy Jonty and find out what's going on.
Your other listeners might appreciate just knowing that.
Yeah.
And the last thing, I previously called in and told him that I read that the WHO had transferred the virus research to China and given them a few $1 million to do it. And that, I believe he said that he researched that and said it wasn't true, but if he could talk about that, I'd appreciate it. And great show, you guys. Thanks very much.
Thanks for calling.
Based on what I read, we do have some sort of research early on, but the American scientists and society decided not to pursue that kind of research. It's just that they believe it's not worth of the kind of a risk.
The expenditure and the risk?
The risk it's not worth to be taken, for that kind of research, to pursue that kind of the goal. And now, based on what I read, we did provide some money for civilian research projects in Wuhan Institute of Virology.
But as you mentioned, that same building is being used by both
civilian
and
military research, and we didn't know at that time, based on my reading. Now, Obama administration approved $3.7 million funding as a grant to help the civilian research of Wuhan Research Institute. It was approved mainly for the information, because you don't give them money, you never know what they're doing there. And then it wasn't, it only like less than $600,000 was sent to the institute, and then Trump administration reapproved the grant, but never sent any money until the COVID-19 started. And after COVID-19 started, they quickly stopped funding. So didn't send any money at all. So, and that's why last month the State Department asked Chinese Communist regime to explain how they use our money, and we didn't send any money to help their military research project.
Okay, so we're going to take one more phone call. We got time for one more call. Let's check in with Keith in Corralitos. Keith, you're on KSCO.
I wanted to thank you guys so much for the show. Love listening to it. I was in New Zealand last year. I left February 14th. We had to go to all these. Our flight was delayed coming into San Francisco, and they had to stay an extra day. We had to check into many, many places. My real call is for the very first report from China mentioned about the virus. And then a day later, I read about the WHO report, and it was word for word. Did you happen to read that on the very early reporting?
I did. And it was eerie how much it was worded exactly the same way.
I was blown away. I said, "How did they didn't research anything? It was just here you go." And I said, "That doesn't make any sense."
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Follow the money again.
Follow the money, and it goes back to what Amy was talking about with her story at the beginning of the show. It's misinformation and propaganda. Anyway, thank you for the call.
You guys keep up the great work. Enjoy your weekend.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, we're going to go to our last break here of the hour, and then we'll come back to close the show.
Satisfy your hunger right now with the delicious ramen and sushi you'll find waiting for you at Kaito. A couple of minutes walk to the ocean at 830 41st Avenue in Pleasure Point. Special orders welcome. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, this is Koji. I'm looking forward to seeing you at Kaito.
People do not like going to the dentist unless they're going to this dentist. Hello, folks. Michael Olson here with Dr. Guy Peabody. Dr. Guy, is there a correlation between oral health and overall physical health?
Absolutely. When your oral health is intact and things are healthy, your overall health is that much better and that much healthier. You feel better.
When you've restored dental health to somebody who hasn't had any for a long time, what kind of change does that affect in them?
Well, it brings about a tremendous sense of confidence within them and peace of mind. This is how we make people smile inside.
Well, there it is, folks. If you want to smile inside, call Dr. Guy Peabody for a consultation today and wake up to a beautiful smile tomorrow. That's Dr. Guy Peabody at 831-457-0343 or visit drpeabody.com. That's drpeabody.com.
Coast Paper and Supply, a local family-owned supply business, has endured recessions, a big earthquake, and now is dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic. They are reopened to the public for social distance shopping, specializing in toilet and facial tissue, paper towels, food service to-go options, janitorial and facility supplies, personal care items, retail packaging, and shipping supplies. With their excellent selection of quality products and customer service, discover why many local businesses, schools, and households purchase from Coast Paper and Supply. You can find Coast Paper and Supply at 151 Josephine Street in Santa Cruz. Open weekdays 8 to 4 p.m. Or you can give them a call at 831-423-3350. That's Coast Paper and Supply, keeping local businesses and households supplied since 1948. Call us at 831-423-3350.
Satisfy your hunger with a fresh, prepared, twice daily grab-and-go sushi you'll find waiting for you at Sushi Market Sprouts, 2 blocks from the beach at 300 7th Avenue in Santa Cruz. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, I'm Junko, and I look forward to serving you at the Sushi Market Sprouts.
Wow, it's hard to believe 2 hours went by that fast. Nan Su from the Epic Times and Amy Howe, we want to thank you so much for your insights on China. Every week we gain so much information from the both of you.
Well,
Thank you, Billy.
time really flies, and is here at the end of our show. I want to wish everyone a happy Chinese New Year.
New Year.
That's tomorrow.
Year of the Ox. Supposed to be much better than rat.
Well, let's hope so. The last year wasn't all that terrific, actually.
Yeah, hope for everyone and your family to have a safe journey sails through this pandemic in this coming New Year.
This is KSCO, Santa Cruz, San Jose,